Time for this antler piece, I'm using just a hand auger, and aside from the fact that I'm doing this in a real purist kind of way by hand, the way it would have been done originally, I really like the control of a hand tool. Power tool, starts going off in a direction and you're in trouble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bore this out, being really careful to make sure that I don't come through the side. And once I get this down deep enough, I'll start to fit this, and then I'll cut a notch in it. But when I get to that step, I'll show you. So we'll cut away now, and then I'll show you how we cut that knock. All right, so the antler handle, you saw me drill the hole. Then what I did is I took a chainsaw file and I just made this knock. And then a hacksaw, I went down just a little further past that, so this will squeeze together. Now, I've already got, you see that gray, I've already got some JB weld in here. I wanted that to set up before I started filming, but if you want to go completely paleo, off the grid, just use some pine pitch, heat it up in like a clamshell, and just mix, this isn't it, but this is what it would look like, and then just mix a little bit of ash with it, some real clean ash from the fire. That'll keep it from cracking, getting brittle, and you just stuff that inside. That's probably what they would have used. Now, I'm using JB weld because I want it to really last for a long time. Not that the pine pitch wouldn't, because it will, but this is just something I have, and it's just quick, so I'm going to go ahead and use this JB weld. It's good stuff. All right, and that just allows me to get it down in there. All right, so the next step, while that weld is setting up, so that's pretty good. The next step is going to be to flatten this out. All right, I want to flatten this out on both sides. So to do that, I can use the same file, all right, or I can use a little rougher file, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use this, one of my favorite tools right here, okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and flatten out that antler so that it tapers, all right. When I get it down, we'll come back and finish it up. All right, so I've got this. You can see now, look at it from the profile. You see how that's tapered. All right, plenty of room in here, so it's not going to split that thin antler. Now what I'm going to do is take some of this hide glue, and I'm just going to rub it around the antler here. I'll come back a decent bit. And then I'm going to take strips of, real thin strips of rawhide, which I have soaked. Alright, it'll stretch a little bit. That's what you want. I'm going to start up nice and tight to the blade. Okay. You start to pull that around carefully. You want to be neat with this kind of work. And when this rawhide dries, it shrinks and it gets real hard, it gets rock hard, and again, that's what you want. And that hide glue will help it to get hard. So just gonna see how nice and neat I'm doing that, nice and tight, not missing anything. And I'm gonna come all the way back with it too. I want to make this part of the handle. This rawhide will end up being just as hard as that bone. Okay. So I'm going to keep wrapping. I have a couple of strips. I'll keep wrapping. I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, now you see I've just carefully started coming back against it. So I'm just wrapping it on top now, coming back in the other direction. I'm going to finish it right here. Okay, now once I get to here, I'm going to go ahead, I'll just lay it down for a second. I'm going to go ahead and take some strips of sinew, right, from flat sinew. Make sure this is fine. All right. And I'll just wrap this over the top of the rawhide at the end. You want to make sure this is really tight. The end where the sinew ties off, okay? And anything that hangs extra at the very end, you can always trim later when it's dry. Just go down there for now, and then you want to make sure that you have another little coat of hide glue all the way around the whole thing. Okay, now for the most part this is done, except I want to add something to this. Okay, I'm going to believe it or not, I've got some copper wire, and I'm going to use this. Native Americans would have had access to copper from the Spanish, and I'm going to use this copper right down in here. This is real thin. They were master scavengers too. They were great pickers. They'd make use of old metal from wagon wheels and barrels, the brass that wrapped around barrels. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a nice little transition here with this copper wire. I've got some copper beads that I'm going to be using on the sheath as well, so it'll look really nice together. Alright, and I'll just give it a nice little finish in here. I took this off an old motor. You see how pretty that's going to be. And I've aged it a little bit as well. Alright, so I got the finished product here. The rawhide wrap, what I did, it's a really good idea just to sit it in the sun. It'll help it to cure, and it makes it real hard. It's going to take about 2 weeks to be completely cured, so you want to be careful in the meantime, and you don't want to get it wet. But this is the finished product. It's with the copper wrapping here, and it's a real subtle transition. It's just the copper and the rawhide, I've learned, looks really nice together, and it transitions real smoothly. So the head came out real cool, I think, and you'll notice these little ridges on the knife. All right, that little cutting part. What I did is I just used the edge of the file to cut into that. This is already really sharp, and I haven't even honed it yet with a stone. So fits perfectly into the sheath. It's got copper beads on it, and Maasai beads. This is from the 1800s, these beads, and some horsehair, handmade brass cross, some buckskin. There's buckskin on top. These are Maasai beads, all sewed with sinew, little horsehair, and buckskin thong. So there you have it. There's my museum piece, and just a little exercise in self-reliance and self-sufficiency. So I hope you guys take on the challenge.